Hi, this is Own Your Brain, the Stories campaign, and I'm Diane Binscoter. I'm coming to you from Toronto, Canada. Every day we hear stories in the news worldwide about terrorist organizations. And today's story is from someone who can tell you firsthand what it's like. So let's listen to his story. This is the story of Mubin Shaikh.
I was born and raised in Toronto, Canada. I think my path into extremism began really from childhood when an identity crisis would manifest later on. And that identity crisis was the result of being shown two different lives. One was the public school life, which was a gender mixing, caring, nurturing environment. The second was the Islamic school, very rigid environment, no gender mixing. And this later on in life, I would feel the need that I would have to choose between the two. Who am I? Who am I supposed to be? Who are my friends? Who are my people, quote unquote? I'm living in Canada. My Muslim community is calling me to one thing. My ethnic community is calling me to another. It's total confusion. And then suddenly an identity is presented to you that here you go. This is the identity you want. This is the identity that will answer all the questions that you've been asking. Had taken on this new identity, it did give me a sense of empowerment and belonging, and fulfilled for me that sense of responsibility that was chasing me for a long time. That, you have a role, you have something to do with yourself, and do, what are you going to do about it? And finally, this identity was presented to me. You are going to be a defender of the Muslim community. You're going to be one of the chosen few that others cannot do, but you can do because there's something special about you. And these were the kinds of ideas that motivated us and drove us to continue doing what we were doing. When you first enter into that new identity, it's of course something that you've never experienced before. This new sense of belonging, identity, new sense of empowerment. But then the reality hits you. There is a theory and then there is a reality. And my commitment began to weaken as I saw the reality of people, that while they may claim one thing, while they may claim fealty and allegiance to a particular ideology, you start to see that they themselves don't practice what they preach. They themselves exhibit the same kinds of failings that they are pointing towards other people and saying that, look at their failings, you don't want to be like them. But yet, as time went on, I started to see they were just like them. And this is when really my commitment started to weaken, and for me to realize that maybe it's not what they claim it is. When you're in that mentality for so long, it's very difficult for you to completely step out of it. It's almost traumatic to now admit to yourself that this new identity that you created for yourself might actually not be the identity that is really you. So for me, the September 11 attacks is what really made me reconsider my commitment to the cause, and pushed me into reevaluating my particular interpretations of the Quran. And it felt very scary that how am I going to reinvent myself? How am I going to be once again a new person? How many new persons can you be? So it felt like it was a vulnerable time. It felt like it was a little scary that how will I answer my former colleagues? How will I answer my community that I'm no longer that person that you think I am? And you just have to keep going. You have to be true to what you are, true to who you are, and who you want to be. And you need to focus on what you see yourself as being this new way, this new time around. The path of leaving that that milieu is a difficult one. It's not an easy one, because you've formed so much of your personal, psychological, emotional states around that identity. And so pulling yourself out of that, you will second guess yourself all the time. Second guessing yourself, emotional depression, psychologically always unsure. But this is part of the process. This is part of the process that a person has to go through to come out on the other side. It's interesting coming out on the other end, as I mentioned, because it's actually a much better place. You have the benefit of hindsight, and of course at the time that you're recreating, reevaluating, changing, it's a period of confusion. But when you do finally go through those steps and you go through that journey and you end up on the other side, you almost look back and laugh at your old self and think to yourself, geez, how could I have possibly come to those ideas? Geez, what made me do? And then, but while you're asking these questions, you have the answers to them, because now you have that hindsight. You can actually look back and say, and pinpoint in your life, these were the things that happened, and these were the things that made me, take this particular path or make this decision. And it's actually, you're actually much better on this side when you're at the other end of the spectrum, because now you're no longer in confusion, you're no longer in a conflict, you're no longer in depression. You're in a state of confidence. You're in a state of I get it now. Well, if I was speaking to the young Mubin, I would say, you have a long life to live. You're not going to figure everything out by the time before you're 20. Young people go through this all the time. They're certain that they figured it out. Well, I can guarantee you haven't figured it out. There are a lot of things that are going to come your way, and the rigid mindset will not help you deal with it. It will be a fluid mindset that will help you deal with it. Having a core identity that is faithful to your religious beliefs, but at the same time is cognizant of the realities of the society in which you live. That bubble identity, that bubble life doesn't protect you from anything. And you will see that many things are going to change, and most importantly, you will see the reality of people. While we have this ideal, we have a lot of ideals that we subscribe to, but very often people don't meet up to those ideals. And if you expect people to be 100% committed to those ideals, you're in for a great disappointment. So set yourself up for happiness instead of disappointment. Set yourself up for progress instead of digress. That's the way forward. For those of you who are on the fence and you're starting to question, it's okay. It's a normal part of human life. It's a normal part of psychological development, of intellectual development, especially for those who are still very young. I'm now doing my PhD. I'm going to be 40 years old. When I was 15, 16, I was in this park before anything. So life is going to change. Life will give you many opportunities, many avenues. You need to take them. You need to take them now. Otherwise, if you close yourself off and you close those paths and you center it towards a path that can only lead to death or imprisonment, that's not an ending you want to see for yourself. And many people have contemplated this ending sitting by themselves in solitary confinement in a prison cell somewhere. And that's not the place you want to be having those second thoughts. You want to be experiencing life again outside with new people, with a new way. This will be something far more fulfilling than what you're going through now. Give people a chance. Just like you want people to give you a chance. And don't be so quick to judge people, because everyone has a story. Everyone has gone through something in their life, just as you are going through something in your life. And you wouldn't want somebody to judge you based on what's happened to you, based on what you've done, what you've said, what you've been thinking. Give people that second chance, just as you want that second chance. And take that second chance if it's given to you and when it's given to you.
This has been Mubin Shaikh, and this has been Own Your Brain. Today I'm in Toronto, Canada, but every week I'll be in a new location bringing you a story of someone like this, or someone who was in a gang or in a religious cult. So please subscribe so you won't miss any of the stories. There's also a link below to my website. Hit that button if you want to find out more about this project. Also, there's another button I want to tell you about, and that's the Contact Us button. Please hit that button, because if you have a story or you know someone who does, your story could be the one that makes a difference in someone's life, and that's what this campaign is about. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week.